there is almost no information coming out of Gaza. The news media, of course, are barred. It's been going on for more than a couple of years now. It'll be 3 years in October, and the sense is that there's something profound going on, but of course, there's no way to know what's going on. So, what did you see when you arrived? What were your perceptions of Gaza?
So my initial perceptions of Gaza, just in terms of the physical aspect, is that I would just describe it as post-apocalyptic, something from, the akin to Terminator 2, when the T-100s are walking through the destroyed landscape. It's human depravity. It's the oppression of dignity. It's the entire area, like for example, in the south in Rafah. I saw pictures of Rafah prior to the current war. And there were nice buildings, there were beach resorts, there were, street lights and neighborhoods. And now it is leveled to the ground. There is not a building that stands, and the rubble is piled up. And as you drive through Rafah to one of our points, secure distribution site number 3 was in Rafah. So we would have to drive through the old southern Rafah corridor to get there. And all of the homes just in piles and rubble, and you can see, someone's couch that's hanging from a piece of rebar out of the second floor of a building, or a refrigerator smashed, or family photos that were on the wall that are now, shattered and broken. Like, these lives were just destroyed and taken, and that's the scene of Gaza. As on the news, airdrops were conducted over the last 48 hours, and journalists were prohibited or encouraged not to take video or pictures of the overhead scenery. Because if the world sees that, I think the world would step back and pause to say, what are we doing? What have we become?
You've spent your life in combat zones. That's why I think your testimony is so compelling, because you have a frame of reference. You've seen a lot of destruction and a lot of killing in your life for 25 years. How would you compare what you saw in Gaza to what you've seen in, say, Afghanistan or Iraq?
Nothing compares. Nothing I have seen in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Baghdad, in Mosul, Sadr City, all throughout Afghanistan, Syria, the southern Philippines, some places where there's dense populations. I have never witnessed anything as brutal, destructive, violent, and I would say that steps far over our international laws of how we persecute wars and how we engage in warfare. We've long departed from that standard, and America is a part of it.
How is it obvious that America is a part of it? I know that we know academically the United States is paying for this and has always paid for it. But do you see American weapons? Do you see American military personnel? I mean, how enmeshed in this are we?
So the 314 government contractors under UG Solutions, the majority, not all of them, but in the high 80 percentile, are combat veterans from the military, directly from the military, combat veterans like myself. You have a mix of law enforcement. You have a mix of people that had experience in various security backgrounds. Within that military portion, there's a good portion of them that are special operations, Marine Corps, Navy SEALs, Green Berets. So all of the contractors on the ground are Americans. And the interesting part of that is that when we first entered Israel, I kind of had to take a pause, and I was like, are you kidding? Like, we were and are. We are in Israel, armed with fully automatic weapons and pistols and shotguns and stun grenades and machine guns, going into Gaza on a tourist visa. We are there on a tourist visa. So if my grandmother wanted to go visit Jerusalem, she would be in Israel under the same status that I was.
Why is that?
At first, I didn't understand it, but then I went and I did some research as to why didn't we do a B1 entry visa as subject matter experts invited by the government or under a different authority. There's various entry visa options. And it dawned on me that, oh, well, if you want to submit for a form of B1 or a different form of the B2 under a work visa, one, that's expensive. And two, that takes time. You have to coordinate that ahead of time. And this mission was thrown together, and there's no one within SRS or UG Solutions that will push back against this, because we all know it. It was thrown together very hastily, and it was just kind of a mix of throwing so many parts together, trying to get it all to come together, that I think things were done to be fast and loose, as I would call it. And one of those was, hey, go online, fill out your Israeli visa, get your e-visa, tourist visa, $25, and come on over to Israel.
You said all of the contractors are American. The Israeli military, the IDF, leveled Gaza. Are there any Israelis helping to feed or take care of, sustain the life of the Palestinians, or is it all Americans who are helping?
So this is what was another aspect that was both interesting and concerning to me, that and I raised this issue early on, because, you know, when I use the term war crimes, people think that, oh, you're just exaggerating. Well, I'm well versed in the protocols of the Geneva Convention, the protocols of the laws of armed conflict, the protocols of international humanitarian law, because I had to know those things as an officer leading men in combat. I didn't have the option. Ignorance was not an option. So
right.
Some of the things now I don't have it, memorized, but there's some pretty key elements in it that kind of stand out. Like, I don't know every word to the Constitution, but I can recite the preamble. So I know what some of them are in terms of what the don'ts are. One thing that struck me as concerning is that there are only 4 secure distribution sites in Gaza under the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. 4. Prior to the blockade and prior to the stopping of UN aid going in, there were 400. So out of the 4 sites that we have, only 4, 3 of them are co-located within 150 to 200 meters from each other, all of them in the far southwest corner of the enclave near the Egyptian border. It's nowhere near the people that need it. North of the Netzarim corridor, which bisects central Gaza from the north. In the north, you have Gaza City and Jabalia. That is where the population right now is the most vulnerable, where you have death, starvation. They're isolated. No aid is going into there, and there's no aid sites there. So prior to us deploying, as a prudent military planner mindset, I'm not in the Army anymore, but I didn't, I still carry the skills. I did a little bit what I would call operational preparation of the environment. I did my research, looked at Gaza, figured out the population, where the population centers were, what people ate, where they primarily lived and what they did. And I saw that, okay, well, the entire northern enclave of Gaza is cut off and isolated, and none of the sites that we've put in are in that area. So who are we providing aid to? So the 3 sites out of the 4 that are all the way down in the southern tip of the enclave, all of them are co-located or nearly located with an IDF combat unit. In that area is where the IDF is actively conducting, and this is not an opinion that anybody can refute. This is a fact. You can look it up. The IDF is currently conducting Operation Gideon's Chariots. It's an offensive operation. It's not a defensive. It's not a security. It's not an aid operation. It is an offensive combat operation, and they are conducting that in the south, where all 3 out of the 3 or 4 sites are located. We established secure distribution sites to deliver and distribute humanitarian aid, not only co-located with Israeli combat units, but located in an active combat zone. I can't make it clearer to the leadership there and to the lawyers that I've spoke with at GHF and UG Solutions that is a war crime, verbatim, out of the protocols of the Geneva Convention, which last time I checked, the United States was still a signatory to, and the laws of international laws and international humanitarian law. Clearly, there's no question about it. So to say that, well, it's okay in this one instance, it's not. It's not okay. So just from immediately being there, I realized that the planning and the coordination for this operation had either been done by people that had no idea, no concept of planning at that level to take into all the considerations that you have to take into an environment like this. You can't just go into a mission like this and say, oh, we'll just wing it. You have to consider the legal, the political, the environmental, the cultural, the military aspects. You have to consider every aspect when you go into planning something like this. And it was obvious that that had not been done. So in my mind, I was like, this is either complete ignorance or it's intentional. They were intentionally put here. So I don't know the answer to that. Someday that's going to come out when the truth breaks and the international community looks and opens this box and starts digging into this nasty problem. The truth will come out. So it's my hope that we didn't do that intentionally, because that would not only make us war criminals, that would just make us evil. So, but the fact still remains, 3 of the 4 distribution sites are in an active combat zone. The 4th site up in central Gaza near the Nessarim corridor is co-located with an Israeli combat unit, a tank unit, mind you. A Merkava tank company is located adjacent to the distribution site. So if someone were to look through the annals of history and see how the United States government participated in the distribution of humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza, and they look at the maps and they're looking at everything, they're like, what was going on here? Why are you distributing humanitarian aid in the middle of a combat zone? It's a question that needs to be asked and needs to be answered, I think.